O, thou who dwellest in the valley of sorrow, lift up thy face. Dost thou hear the voice from the deep ocean of the Spirit? Nay, thou hearest it not, for thy soul is clouded by the dust of this material world. But hearken unto me. The power to see the unseen, divine inspiration, is not a miracle for the few, but a birthright for all. It sleeps within thee, waiting to be roused from the mud of thy desires. Today, I shall teach thee the secret live calmly, and thy spiritual eyes shall open. Art thou prepared to awaken the sleeping God within? Chapter 1: The Deafened Soul. O thou, wandering soul, I ask thee, are thy spiritual eyes open? Canst thou see the unseen reality that wrappeth this world like a cloak? Canst thou hear the voices that echo from the deep ocean of the Spirit? Nay, I perceive that thou canst not. Thou hearest not the whispers from the deep, nor dost thou see the light of the heavens. And why is this so? It is because thy spiritual senses are tightly sealed, locked away in the dark. Verily, the humans of this modern age have become pitiful creatures indeed. Ye chase only after that which is visible to the eye of flesh. Ye run breathless after gold, after honor, after the fleeting shadows of vanity. Thy hearts are stolen by these empty illusions, and ye have forgotten the true world, the world of spirit. But hearken unto me, and listen well, for I speak the truth that shall liberate thee. There are two worlds in this universe, though thou seest but one. One is the phenomenal world, the limited realm which thou beholdest now with thine eyes. The other is the spirit world, the invisible realm which thou hast forgotten. And know this: the spirit is the parent, and the phenomenal world is but the child. The spirit is the root, and this world is but the fruit. Understandest thou this truth? All events, be they great or small, are first decided in the spirit world. Only then do they manifest here in this limit. Sickness, accidents, meetings, partings, yea, every joy and every sorrow, all are the workings of the Spirit. Therefore, how canst thou expect to walk correctly in this world if thou knowest not the spirit world? To live without this knowledge is like a blind man walking upon a treacherous mountain path. He stumbles, he falls, he loses his way amidst the thorns. Is this not the very portrait of thy daily life? Full of anxiety, full of confusion, never knowing where to place thy foot next. That is why I, Onisaburo, speak unto thee now. Open thy spiritual eyes, awaken thy divine senses. But thou askest, what is this spiritual sense? Is it to see ghosts? Is it to hear the dead? Nay, my child, do not be deceived by such shallow superstitions. True spiritual sense is the ability to commune with the deep. It is the power to hear the voice of God, to feel the movements of the spirit world, and to receive guidance from the invisible. This, and this alone, is the true inspiration. Perchance thou thinkest in thy heart, I have no such power. I am but an ordinary man, a common woman. Such gifts belong only to saints or mystics. Nay, that is a lie thou tellest thyself. Thou art mistaken. Every human being is born as a child of God. Every soul is endowed with this treasure called inspiration. It is thy birthright. Let me tell thee of a time long past, when I was yet a boy known as Onisaburo. In those days, my body was frail, weak as a withered leaf. I could not run with the other children, nor could I attend the school of letters. I lay upon my bed, day after day, staring at the ceiling of our humble farmhouse. To the adults, I was a pitiful thing, a burden, a sick child with no future. They spoke of medicines, of the cost of rice, of the struggles of the harvest. Their minds were chained to the earth, heavy with worry. But in that solitude, in that silence of the sickbed, my eyes were open to something else. While my body was bound, my spirit roamed free. I heard the wind speak not just as moving air, but as a messenger. I saw the grandmother of the house not just as an old woman, but as a soul shining with ancient wisdom. I saw that the world was not empty, but full of life, full of meaning, full of invisible forces. The adults called me strange. They called me 8 years, because I seemed to hear things they did not. But they were the ones who were deaf. They were the ones who were poor, though they counted their copper coins. For they possessed the world, but they had lost their own souls. Look at thyself now. Art thou not like those adults who surrounded my bed? Thou toilest from dawn to dusk, yet thy heart remains empty. Thou seekest comfort in material things, yet peace eludes thee. Why? Because thou hast buried thy treasure. The poison of this material civilization has infected thee. Thy worldly desires and petty cravings have clouded the mirror of thy heart. Thou hast taken the precious jewel of inspiration and buried it deep in the mud of the riverbed. But despair not. I am here to tell thee that the jewel is still there. It is not lost, it is only hidden. The mud can be washed away. The sleeping power can be awakened. I shall teach thee how to cleanse this mud, how to polish the mirror, and how to hear the voice of the divine once more. Art thou ready? Hast thou prepared thy heart? Then let us begin this journey of awakening together. Step by step, we shall climb the mountain. Step by step, we shall leave the valley of blindness behind. Follow me, and fear not the shadows, for the light is within thee. Chapter 2: The Storm Within. Come closer, my friend. Let me look into thine eyes. Why is thy brow furrowed so deep, like a field plowed by a heavy ox? How long dost thou intend to carry this weight? How long wilt thou let thy heart be torn asunder by things that, in the grand eyes of the universe, are but dust and ashes? I see thee. I see the sleepless nights where thou dost toss and turn. I see the anger that burns in thy gut because of a careless word spoken by another. I see the fear of a future that hath not yet arrived, gnawing at thy bones like a hungry wolf. Tell me, at this very moment, is thy heart quiet? Nay, it is not. I hear the clamor within thee. Will my work go well tomorrow? What does that person think of me? How shall I pay the debts that pile up like winter snow? Thoughts, endless thoughts, rushing like a wild river that has burst its banks. Thou art drowning in a sea of thine own creation. Thou art like a man in a small boat upon a vast ocean, screaming at the waves to be still, while thou thyself art rocking the boat with all thy might. I fear the storm. I hate the wind. Thou criest, but it is thou who art causing the vessel to capsize. Hearken unto this truth. The world is a storm. That is its nature. There will be winds of praise and winds of slander. There will be currents of gain and currents of loss. This is the way of the phenomenal world. But thou hast made thyself a slave to the weather. When the sun shines and men praise thee, thou dancest like a puppet. When the clouds gather and men speak ill of thee, thou collapsest as if the sky has fallen. Is this a life, or is it a leaf blown about by the autumn breeze? Where is the captain of thy soul? Do not think I speak from a high throne, looking down upon thee. Nay, I know this pain. I know it well. Before I became the man thou seest, before the Spirit opened my eyes, I was but a youth named Onisaburo. I, too, sought to make my mark upon this world. I chased after success with a desperate hunger. I tried my hand at mining, seeking the riches hidden in the earth. I failed. The earth yielded nothing but sweat and debt. I tried to become a merchant, bottling and selling the sweet fizzy waters known as ramune. This is it, I thought. This shall bring me fortune. But the bottles broke, the seasons turned against me, and the coins did not come. Oh, the shame! Oh, the anxiety! I walked the streets, feeling the eyes of the neighbors upon me. There goes Onisaburo, the dreamer, they whispered. The man who fails at everything. My heart was a tempest. I could not sleep. I could not sit still. Every setback felt like a knife in my chest. I was angry at the world. I was angry at myself. I was exactly where thou art now, driven by the whip of ambition, and crushed by the stones of disappointment. My mind was a noisy marketplace, filled with the screaming of merchants and the barking of dogs. How could God speak to such a heart? How could the delicate voice of the Spirit be heard amidst such a cacophony? Thou believest that thou controllest thy life, but in truth, thou art controlled by beasts. Anger is a beast. Jealousy is a beast. Fear is a beast. They hold the reins of thy chariot, and they drive thee toward the cliff. When thy superior at work looks at thee with cold eyes, the beast of anger awakens. When thou hearest of a friend's success, the beast of envy claws at thy throat. Thou sayest, I cannot help it. This is who I am. Nay, that is the great lie. These emotions are not thee. They are but clouds passing across the sky of thy soul. But thou hast grabbed onto the clouds and wrapped them around thy head, blinding thyself. To live calmly, to live Tantan, is to tame these beasts. It is to find the eye of the typhoon. Imagine the great storm. On the outside, the winds howl and the houses are torn apart. But in the center, in the eye, there is a perfect, eerie silence. Blue sky looks down. Thy heart must become that eye. How? By becoming an observer of thine own storm. When anger rises, do not become the anger. Step back, look at it, say to thyself, oh, look, my heart is currently experiencing anger. How interesting. When anxiety comes, do not become the anxiety. Say to thyself, ah, I see a dark cloud of fear passing over my mind. Do not jump into the river. Stand on the bank and watch the water flow. This is the secret I learned through my many failures. The moment thou stoppest reacting like a machine, the moment thou watchest thy feelings like a stranger, the beast loses its power. The storm begins to quiet. My friend, thou art exhausted. I can see it in thy spirit. Thou hast fought a war against shadows for too long. Thou hast tried to control the wind, and it has left thee broken. It is time to stop. It is time to realize that the chaos is not in the world, but in the mirror of thy heart. If the water of the lake is churning with waves, how can it reflect the moon? Thy divine inspiration cannot be seen because thy waters are muddy with agitation. Before we can open the door to the gods, we must first hush the noise of the humans. We must quiet the Onisaburo within thee, the part that cries and screams for attention. Are thou ready to let go of this turmoil? Are thou ready to step out of the whirlwind and into the center? The path is not easy, for the beasts are hungry and used to being fed. But there is a way to wash the mud from the gold. In the next step of our journey, I shall show thee the root of this suffering. I shall show thee why thou hast ignored the warnings of thy soul. We shall speak of the mud of logic that clogs thine ears. Rest now, for a moment. Breathe, let the storm rage outside. But in here, with me, let us find a moment of silence. Chapter 3: The Mud of Logic. Listen to me, O seeker of truth. We have spoken of the storm that rages within thy heart. Now, let us dig deeper. Let us uncover the root of this storm. Why is thy heart so noisy? Why, when the gentle breeze of God's guidance blows, dost thou close the window? It is because thou art drunk on a poison called logic. It is because thou worshipest a false idol called intellect. Thou pridest thyself on being a rational man, a sensible woman. Thou sayest, I believe only what I can see, what I can prove, what I can explain. And therein lies the very mud that clogs the ears of thy soul. This sensible mind of thine is the wall between thee and the divine. Do not look away. I speak of the arrogance that resides in thy head. Thou thinkest that thy small brain, which is but a speck of dust in the galaxy, can comprehend the vast plans of the Almighty? Such vanity, such foolishness. I tell thee this not to mock thee, but because I, too, was once a fool who worshipped logic. Let me take thee back to the days of my youth, to the sacred mountain, Mount Takakuma. When I first climbed that mountain to seek the divine, to undergo the severe training of the spirit. Dost thou think the heavens opened immediately? Dost thou think angels descended with trumpets? Nay, for the first days, I heard nothing. Nothing but the wind, and the annoying buzzing of my own thoughts. My mind was full of chatter, like a room full of drunken monkeys. Is this real? I asked myself. Am I not acting like a madman? What will the villagers say when I return? Is there truly a God, or am I just hungry and cold? These thoughts, this mud of doubt and reason, swirled around me. I was trying to understand God with my head. I was analyzing the experience before it even happened. And as long as I analyzed, the spirit remained silent. God does not speak to the analyst, he speaks to the empty vessel. It was only one morning, in the purple hour before dawn, when my exhausted mind finally gave up. When I stopped thinking, stopped judging, stopped trying to be smart. That the silence truly came. And in that silence, a voice like a bell rang out. Empty thy heart, make it void. That was the first command. Not, learn this scripture, not, perform this ritual, but simply empty thyself. But alas, how difficult it is to be empty. Even after I began to walk the path, the old habit of logic would return to haunt me. I recall a day in Kyoto, during the era of Meiji. I was walking through the bustling streets, attending to business. The sky was clear, the sun was shining. But suddenly, a dark shadow passed over my heart. A feeling, sharp and cold, pierced my chest. Go home, it said. Leave this place. Do not stay. It was not a voice of words, but a sensation of urgency. It was the intuition, the whisper of the guardian spirit. But what did I do? I consulted my idol, the logic. My head said, look at the sky, Onisaburo. It is blue. There is no sign of rain. My head said, you have traveled far to be here. It would be a waste of time and money to leave now. My head said, there is no reason to be afraid. It is just a superstition. And so, I listened to the smart choice. I stayed. I ignored the warning of the soul and followed the calculation of the brain. And what was the result? Within the hour, the heavens turned black. A rain such as I had never seen began to fall. Nay, it did not fall. It smashed into the earth. The roads turned into rivers of mud. The bridges were washed away. I could not return home. I was stranded in the wild, forced to spend the night shivering in a beast's shed, surrounded by the smell of manure, cold and wet to the bone. As I sat there in the dark, chattering my teeth, I realized the truth. The sensible logic was wrong. The irrational feeling was right. God does not provide a thesis. He does not give a list of reasons. He gives a flash, a hunch, a certainty without evidence. That is the language of the Spirit. Why dost thou miss the voice of heaven? Because thou demandest an explanation. When the hunch comes, do not trust this man, thou askest, why? He has a nice suit. He speaks well. When the hunch comes, walk this path, thou askest, why? The other path is shorter. Thou rejectest the gold because it does not come wrapped in a paper of logic. Thou throwest away the diamond because it looks like a rough stone to thy worldly eyes. This is the cause of thy suffering. Thou art trying to navigate the ocean of life using a map drawn by a child. Thy intellect is that map. It is useful for counting coins, yes. It is useful for building a shed. But it knows nothing of the winds of destiny. It knows nothing of the storms of karma. Only the intuition, the direct line to the divine, knows these things. To open thy spiritual eyes, thou must first learn to distrust thy head. Thou must be brave enough to look foolish. Thou must be brave enough to act without a good reason. Why did you do that? People will ask. And thou shalt answer, because I felt it. That is enough. That is the only reason that matters in the kingdom of God. But beware, do not think that every voice in thy head is from God. For just as there is true gold, there is also fool's gold. Just as there are angels, there are shadows that dress in light. When thou openest the door, not only the fresh breeze enters, but also the flies. Many have fallen into this trap. They mistake their own greed for God's voice. They mistake the whisper of a ghost for the command of the Creator. In the next chapter, I must warn thee of this great danger. For the path of inspiration is narrow, and on either side lie deep chasms. Art thou prepared to learn how to distinguish the true voice from the false whisper? Cleanse thy mind of logic, but keep thy sword of wisdom sharp. We proceed now into the shadows. Chapter 4: The Whisper of Shadows. Halt, traveler. Before we take another step toward the summit, I must bid thee pause. We have spoken of the mud of logic that blinds thee, but now, I must warn thee of a danger far greater, a peril that lies in wait for those who successfully open the door. For when the light of the candle burns brightest, the shadows stretch longest. As thy spiritual senses awaken, do not think that only angels shall come to greet thee. Nay, the dark ones, the Jireh, the evil spirits, are also watching. They are hungry, and they are waiting for a gap in thy armor. Thou askest, what is this gap? It is not a hole in thy clothes. It is the stain upon thy heart. It is vanity. It is greed. It is fear. It is arrogance. As long as these poisonous weeds grow in the garden of thy soul, the Jireh can enter at will. And listen well, for this is the most cunning trap of all. The evil ones do not come as monsters with bared fangs. They come as flatterers. They come as false prophets. They whisper sweet poison into the ear of the awakened. Thou art special, they say. Thou hast been chosen above all others. Thou art the savior of this age. Thy neighbor is wicked, only thou art righteous. Ah, how sweet these words taste to the ego. The moment thou thinkest, I am great, thou art caught in the snare. The moment thou seekest to use this sacred power for thine own gain, the light turns to darkness. I have seen this tragedy with my own eyes, time and time again. Let me tell thee of a man I once knew. He was a man of simple birth, and like thee, he sought the path of the Spirit. At first, his heart was pure. He wished only to heal the sick, to ease the suffering of the poor. And indeed, the power was granted unto him. People came to him, and by his touch, their pain vanished. It was a miracle, a gift from the divine. But then, the whisper began. Why should such power be free? The shadow murmured. Look at how they adore thee. Thou deservest a reward. Slowly, imperceptibly, the man changed. He began to demand gold for his miracles. He began to dress in fine silks and sit upon a high seat. My power is special, he declared. This is a business ordained by God. He gathered followers not to lead them to the light, but to feed his own vanity. He cast out those who questioned him, calling them enemies of the truth. And what was his end? The power left him, but the madness remained. The spirits he thought he commanded eventually consumed him. He died alone, his mind broken, his soul lost in a labyrinth of hallucinations. This is the fate of one who sells the holy gift. This is the ruin that awaits the arrogant. I saw this struggle even within my own house, during the days of the fire and water conflict. Even those closest to me, those who had touched the hem of the garment of truth, fell victim to this disease. They became drunk on the wine of revelation. They fought amongst themselves, each claiming to be the true vessel, each claiming their vision was absolute. It was a storm of egos, masking itself as a holy war. It taught me a bitter lesson. Without the anchor of humility, the ship of inspiration will surely wreck upon the rocks. So, I ask thee now, and answer me truthfully in the silence of thy heart. Why dost thou seek this power? Is it to become famous? Is it to prove to others that thou art special? Is it to spy on the secrets of thy neighbors? If there is even a speck of such desire in thy heart, stop now. Turn back, for that desire is the open door through which the destroyer enters. How, then, canst thou distinguish the true voice from the false whisper? It is simple, yet difficult. The voice of God is always quiet. It is always gentle. It brings unity. It brings peace. It brings a love that embraces even the enemy. It never flatters thee. It often commands thee to be humble, to serve, to forgive. It says, lower thy head. Wash the feet of the poor. The voice of the shadow is loud. It is exciting. It brings division. It stirs up anger. It says, revenge. They are wrong. You are right. It says, you are a king. Rule over them. If thou hearest a voice that makes thee feel superior to others, cast it out. It is a lie. Stand firm and declare, Be gone. I am a child of God. I serve only the light. Thou hast no power over me. Do not be afraid of the spirits, but be terrified of thine own arrogance. The best defense is a clean heart. Be like the bamboo, hollow inside, yet upright and flexible. Keep thy heart empty of self, and there will be no place for the evil ones to dwell. Always pray with this thought: O God, cleanse me. Guide me. Let me be but an instrument of thy peace. If thou keepest this prayer, no shadow can touch thee. We have now seen the mud that blocks the ears, and the shadows that deceive the eyes. Thou knowest the suffering, and thou knowest the cause. Now, the path must turn. To truly break these chains, to truly find the unshakable center, one must sometimes walk to the very edge of the abyss. One must face the ultimate silence. In the next chapter, I shall take thee to the plains of Mongolia. I shall show thee what happens when a man stands before the barrel of a gun. Art thou ready to look death in the face and find life? Come, the dawn approaches, but the darkest hour is upon us. Chapter 5: The Brink of Death. Come, sit closer. The fire of our discourse burns low, and the shadows lengthen. We have spoken of the noise of the world, and the arrogance of the intellect. We have spoken of the mud that blinds thee and the spirits that deceive thee. But thou mayest still ask, Teacher, it is easy to speak of calmness when one sits in a warm room. It is easy to say, leave it to God, when the belly is full and the roof is sound. But what of the moment when the world truly collapses? What when death stands at the door? Thou art right to ask. Theory without fire is but ash. Faith that has not walked through the valley of the shadow of death is but a child's game. So, I shall tell thee of a day when I stood upon the very precipice of existence. I shall tell thee of the plains of Mongolia, and the day the guns were leveled at my breast. It was the year of 1924. I had left my homeland, driven by a vision to build a kingdom of peace upon the continent. I journeyed into the vast, wind-swept wilderness of Mongolia, accompanied by only a few faithful souls. We sought to unite the hearts of men, to transcend borders and races. But the world of men is cruel, and the light often attracts the wolves. We were captured by a warlord's army at a place called Paitala. Accused of being spies, of being agitators, we were stripped of our dignity, bound with ropes, and dragged into the scorching sun. Imagine the scene, if thou canst. The dry wind of the steppes blowing dust into our eyes. The smell of horse sweat and fear. The soldiers, their faces hard as stone, checked their rifles. Click, clack, the sound of a bullet sliding into the chamber is a sound one never forgets. They lined us up. There was no trial. There was no judge, only the executioner. Behind us, the vast emptiness of the horizon. Before us, the black eyes of the gun barrels. My companions were trembling. Who would not? Tears streamed down their dusty faces. They thought of their wives, their children, their homes in Japan that they would never see again. The fear of death is the greatest storm of all. It screams in the blood. It freezes the marrow. But in that moment, something strange happened to me. As I looked into the darkness of the muzzle, the storm within me suddenly ceased. The noise of the mind, the why me, the save me, the this is unfair, it all vanished. It was as if I had walked into the center of the typhoon. The absolute silence. I realized then, there is nothing more I can do. I had done my best. I had followed my vision. I had walked my path. Now, the result belonged entirely to heaven. The line between life and death dissolved. I was not Onisaburo facing death. I was simply a soul, floating in the great ocean of God's will. A poem rose to my lips, unbidden. I recited it aloud, my voice steady against the howling wind. Though my body may rot in the fields of Mongolia, I shall not stain the honor of a Japanese soul. I closed my eyes. I did not pray for rescue. I did not pray for the soldiers to miss. I simply offered my life. Thy will be done. In that surrender, I felt a peace so profound, so sweet, that it surpassed all the pleasures of the world. This, my friend, is the true meaning of living calmly. It is not merely relaxing in a garden. It is the strength to stand amidst the fire and not be burned. It is the courage to let go of the cliff edge and trust that the wind will carry thee. Bang! The sound tore the air. But I did not fall. Why? Was it a miracle? At the very last second, a messenger arrived. The execution was halted. We were saved by the intervention of men, yes. But in my heart, the true miracle had already occurred. I had died, and I had been reborn. The Onisaburo who feared death was gone. The man who walked away from that wall was different. He knew that life is but a borrowed thing, a play upon a stage. If God wills it, I live. If God wills it, I die. Either way, I am in His hands. And if I am in His hands, what is there to fear? Thou mayest never face a firing squad in Mongolia, but thou facest little deaths every day, dost thou not? The death of a dream, the death of a relationship, the death of thy pride. Thou tremblest, thou panickest, thou criest out, what shall I do? Remember Paitala, remember that when thou reachest the point of zero, when thou canst do no more, that is when the true power awakens. That is when the Spirit takes over. Do not struggle against the inevitable. Do not beg the universe to change its laws for thee. Stand tall, look the difficulty in the eye, take a deep breath, and say, I have done my part. The rest is thine. In that moment of total surrender, thou shalt find the key to the door that has been locked for so long. The door to true freedom. The door to the cessation of suffering. We survived the guns of Mongolia. But the journey was not over. For the true test of a soul is not only how it faces death, but how it faces injustice. How it faces the prison cell. How it faces the destruction of all it has built. In the next chapter, I shall take thee into the cold stone walls of the prison. I shall show thee how to turn a dungeon into a palace. I shall teach thee the art of emptying, the secret of gratitude and forgiveness. Art thou ready to learn how to be free, even when wearing chains? Walk with me. The path leads now into the dark, but the light is growing stronger. Chapter 6: The Art of Emptying. We have walked through the valley of the shadow of death in Mongolia. But the journey of the soul has many valleys, and some are darker than the grave. 11 years after I faced the guns, another storm struck. It was the winter of Showa, the 10th year. The state, fearful of the light that shone from our sanctuary, struck with a hammer of iron. They called it the second incident, but it was a destruction. My shrines, built with the sweat and prayers of thousands, were blown to dust with dynamite. My followers were scattered like sheep before the wolf. And I was cast into the cold, stone belly of the prison. Imagine, if thou wilt, the sudden fall. Yesterday, I was the master of a great movement, surrounded by beauty and reverence. Today, I am a prisoner, stripped of my name, wearing the rough cotton of a criminal. The floor was freezing. The food was scarce. Day after day, the interrogators came. They mocked me. They twisted my words. They sought to break my spirit. Confess, they screamed. Admit that you are a traitor. In such a place, it is easy for the heart to turn into a knot of black venom. Hatred, resentment, the burning desire for revenge. These are the companions that usually sit with a man in a dungeon. But I remembered the voice from the mountain, empty thy heart. And I remembered the peace of Paitala. I realized that if I allowed hatred to enter my heart, I would truly be a prisoner. The walls of stone could only confine my body. But hatred would confine my soul. So, I decided to turn my cell into a temple. I decided to practice the art of emptying. How does one empty the heart when it is filled with the mud of injustice? Thou canst not simply say, "Go away, anger." The mind is like a river, it flows ceaselessly. If thou triest to dam it up with force, it will only burst and drown thee. Nay, thou must not stop the flow. Thou must change the water. Thou must pour in the clear, sweet water of gratitude. And so, a strange ritual began in that dark cell. Every morning, before the guards awoke, I sat upon the cold floor. I bowed my head to the invisible altar, and I said, "Thank you." At first, I confess, it was but a form. My lips moved, but my heart was dry. Thank you for what? My ego sneered. For the lice? For the cold rice? But I persisted. Thank you, God, that I woke up today. Thank you that I still have breath. Thank you that I have a roof, even if it is a prison roof, to keep off the rain. And then, the miracle happened. As I continued to pour this water of gratitude, the mud began to clear. I began to see the hidden blessings. I saw that this imprisonment was not a punishment, but a vacation given by God. For years I had been too busy, surrounded by crowds. Now, God had given me time. Time to think, time to pray, time to be with Him. The interrogator's harsh voice became a tool to sharpen my wit. The cold wind became a reminder of the resilience of life. When gratitude fills the heart, there is no room for the devil to sit. But gratitude alone is not enough. There is another chain that binds the soul, heavier than any iron. It is the chain of unforgiveness. I have seen, with my spiritual eyes, the souls of the dead who wander the earth. They are frightful to behold. They carry heavy chains wrapped around their necks. They scream, "I will never forgive him. He wronged me." But look closely. Who is holding the other end of the chain? Is it the enemy? Nay, the enemy is sleeping soundly, unaware. The one holding the chain is the soul itself. By hating another, thou tiest thyself to him. Thou draggest his ghost with thee wherever thou goest. Thou drinkest poison and hoppest the other man will die. So, I forgave them. I forgave the officials who destroyed my shrines. I forgave the judges who condemned me. I forgave the betrayers who lied to save their own skins. I said, they are playing their roles in God's great drama. They are but clouds masking the sun. I let go of the chain. And in that moment, the roof of the prison tore open, not in reality, but in spirit. The light of heaven flooded in. My damp cell became a golden palace. My solitude became a communion with the saints. I was more free in that cage than the emperor in his castle. This is the power of the empty heart. It turns hell into heaven. It turns poison into medicine. And now, I ask thee, my friend, what prison art thou living in? Is it the prison of a job thou hadst? Is it the prison of a broken marriage? Is it the prison of a past failure? Thou criest, let me out. But the door is not locked by others. It is locked by thee. It is locked by thy lack of gratitude and thy refusal to forgive. Start today. Find 3 things, just 3, to be grateful for. I can walk. I have tea to drink. The sun came up. It sounds foolish? Do it. And then, think of that person. The one who hurt thee. The one whose face makes thy stomach churn. Visualize cutting the chain. Say, I release thee. And I release myself. Drop the burden. Feel the lightness? That lightness is the space where God enters. That silence is the canvas upon which inspiration paints its masterpieces. We have now cleansed the vessel. The mud is washed away. The cracks are mended. The heart is empty and ready. Now, finally, we can begin to fill it with the true nectar. Now we can listen to the whisper that guides the stars. In the next chapter, we begin the path of practice. I shall teach thee how to read the compass of God, the intuition. I shall show thee how to navigate the daily life using this divine sense. Are thou ready to stop thinking and start knowing? The training begins now. Chapter 7: The Path of Intuition. We have washed the mud from the mirror. We have emptied the cup of its poison. Now, the vessel is ready to receive the wine of heaven. But how does one pour this wine? How does one actually hear the voice of the divine in the hustle and bustle of the marketplace? This is the question that burns in thy mind, is it not? Thou expectest perhaps a thunderclap from the sky, or a burning bush. Nay, my friend, God is not a performer of cheap tricks. He speaks in a language far more subtle, and far more swift. He speaks in the language of intuition. Let us explore this mystery. Cast thy mind back to yesterday. Or perhaps the day before. Didst thou not feel a sudden, inexplicable sensation? Perhaps thou wert walking down a street, and a feeling washed over thee, do not enter that shop. Or thou wert about to sign a paper, and a cold shiver ran down thy spine, wait. Or thou met a stranger, and before he spoke a word, thy heart leapt, this man is a brother. There was no logic to it. There was no reason thy brain could find. It was just a hunch, a feeling. And what didst thou do? I know what thou didst. Thou shookest thy head. Thou sightest to thyself, don't be foolish. There is no evidence. It is just my imagination. Thou consulted thy idol, the logic, and it said, proceed. And so, thou walked into the shop, and wert cheated. Thou signed the paper, and lost thy coin. Thou trusted the stranger, and was betrayed. And afterwards, sitting in the ashes of thy regret, thou didst cry out, I knew it, why did I not listen to myself? Thou hast experienced this, hast thou not? I see the nod of thy head. Every soul has this scar. The scar of the ignored warning. Why didst thou ignore it? Because thou lackest courage. The courage to trust the invisible over the visible. The courage to trust the first flash over the second thought. Hearken closely, for this is the secret of the mechanics of spirit. The voice of God is the first flash. It strikes the heart instantly, faster than lightning. It is pure. It is unadulterated. It is the direct command of the cosmos. But then, a second later, the brain awakes. The brain is slow. It is heavy. It is full of fear and calculation. It says, but what if I am wrong? But what will people say? But the data says otherwise. And thus, the first flash is buried under the mud of the second thought. True inspiration is catching that first flash before the mud falls. When I hold the brush to write the Fudesaki, the automatic revelations of the spirit, I do not think. If I were to think, what character shall I write next? The flow would stop. The connection would sever. My hand moves before my mind knows why. The ink flows like a river, guided not by my will, but by a will far greater. I become a spectator of my own hand. This is the state thou must achieve. But fear not, thou needst not write 81 volumes of scripture to practice this. Thou canst start today, with the smallest, most trivial things in thy life. This is the training of the little choices. Tomorrow morning, when thou openest thine eyes, ask the divine, what shall I wear today? Do not look at the weather forecast. Do not think of fashion. Wait for the image that flashes in thy mind. A blue shirt? A red tie? Whatever it is, grab it. Put it on. Do not argue. When thou sittest at the table for the morning meal, ask, what does my body need? Do not count the calories. Do not think of the diet. If the flash says, an apple, eat the apple. When thou leavest thy house, ask, which path shall I take to the station? If the feet want to turn left, even if the right way is shorter. This is madness. Thou sayest, these are trifles. Precisely, because they are trifles, thy fear is low. If thou mockest a mistake in choosing a shirt, no one dies. That is why it is the perfect training ground. By practicing obedience in the small things, thou art strengthening the muscle of intuition. Thou art tuning the radio receiver of thy soul. Thou art learning to recognize the flavor of the divine voice. And observe the results. Observe them carefully. When thou wore the blue shirt, didst thou not meet an old friend who loves blue? When thou took the left path, didst thou not avoid a traffic accident on the right path? When thou atest the apple, did thy stomach not feel lighter and stronger? Slowly, surely, thou shalt see a pattern. Thou shalt realize, the voice is always right. The voice protects me. The voice knows better than I. And as this confidence grows, like a mustard seed growing into a great tree, a day will come when thou must make a great choice. Whom shall I marry? Shall I quit this job? Shall I move to a new land? On that day, while others run around in panic, drowning in data and anxiety, thou shalt sit still. Thou shalt close thine eyes. Thou shalt wait for the flash. And when it comes, thou shalt stand up and say with a smile, I go this way. Why? They will ask. Because my Father told me so, thou shalt answer. And thou shalt walk into the fire and not be burned, for thou followest the map of the Almighty. This is the path of intuition. It is not magic. It is a relationship. It is a conversation with the God who lives in thy gut. Stop ignoring him. Stop interrupting him with thy logic. Be like a child who holds his father's hand in a crowd. The child does not worry about the map. He just follows the hand. Give thy hand to the Spirit. Let the logic serve the intuition, not the other way around. Now, thou hast the tool. But a tool needs an environment to work best. The radio needs silence to hear the signal clearly. Where can we find this silence in a world of noise? In the next chapter, I shall lead thee out of the city. I shall take thee to the forest, to the river, to the sanctuary of nature. I shall teach thee how to commune with the silence of the earth. The training continues. Trust the flash. Start now. Chapter 8: Communion with Silence. Thou hast learned to trust the flash of intuition in the marketplace. Thou hast learned to pick the right path in the chaos of the city. But tell me, can a man hear a whisper in the middle of a thunderstorm? Can a man see his reflection in a pool of water that is constantly stirred by passing wagons? Nay, to truly deepen this bond, to turn the flash into a steady beam of light, thou needest a sanctuary. Thou needest to return to the source. And where is this source? It is not in the temples made of stone. It is in the cathedral of the wild. It is in nature. I ask thee, when was the last time thou walked alone in a forest? When was the last time thou sat by a river and did nothing but listen to the water? Thou liest in boxes. Thou sleepest in a box, drivest in a box, workest in a box. These boxes are built by men, and they vibrate with the confusion of men. But the trees, the mountains, the wind, these are the handwriting of the Almighty. They still vibrate with the original frequency of creation. In the early days, when I dwelled in Kamioka, I would rise before the sun. The mist would be clinging to the mountains like a white dragon. The river Hozu would be singing its eternal song over the stones. I would walk out into this silence and simply stand. I did not think. I did not analyze. I let the sound of the birds wash over me. I let the cold air enter my lungs. And in that union with nature, the boundary between Onisaburo and the universe would dissolve. The wind was not blowing on me, it was blowing through me. The bird was not singing to me, it was singing as me. This is the fourth teaching: meditate in nature. God is too vast to be contained in a book, but he is present in every leaf, in every drop of dew. If thou seekest an answer to a heavy problem, go to the ocean. Go to the mountain top. Sit there until thy heartbeat matches the rhythm of the earth. In that silence, the answer will float up from the depths, effortless and clear. The city screams, nature whispers. And God loves the whisper. But thou sayest, I live in the city. I cannot go to the mountain every day. Then thou must create a mountain in thy room. Thou must carve out a slice of silence in thy day. This is the third teaching: create a time of absolute solitude. Modern man is terrified of silence. The moment there is a pause, he grabs his machine of glass and light. He fills his ears with music, with news, with gossip. Why? Because he is afraid that if the noise stops, he will have to face himself. Do not be afraid. Set aside 10 minutes. Nay, start with 5. Sit, close thine eyes. Do not pray with words. Just wait, like a servant waiting for his king to speak. Be patient. God's time is not thy time. He speaks when the vessel is still. And when is the best time for this stillness? It is the first teaching, the morning prayer. The hour before dawn is sacred. The world is asleep. The psychic atmosphere is not yet polluted by the greed and anger of the millions. The ether is clear. Rise early. Wash thy face. Sit before the invisible altar. And offer this prayer, which I give unto thee now. O God, empty me of myself. Let me hear only thy voice. Guide my feet this day, not where I want to go, but where thou needest me. Do not ask for money. Do not ask for success. Ask for guidance. If thou askest for guidance, all other things shall be added unto thee. Now, there is one more secret door to the spirit world. A door that opens every night, whether thou wishest it or not. I speak of the dream. This is the second teaching. Keep a dream diary. Thou thinkest that sleep is merely a resting of the body? Nay, it is the journey of the soul. When the heavy coat of the physical body is cast aside, the soul returns to its home in the spirit world. There, it receives messages. It sees the future. It meets with the guides. But alas, when the morning bell rings, the brain awakes and wipes the memory clean. It was just a dream, thou sayest. It was nonsense. And thus, thou throwest away a letter from heaven without opening it. Do this, starting tonight. Place a pen and a book by thy pillow. The moment, the very second, thou wakest, reach for the pen. Do not move thy body. Do not think of breakfast. Grab the tail of the fading dream and pull it back. Write it down, even if it seems foolish. I was flying over a green lake. I saw a horse with wings. Write it. At first, it will seem like chaos. But as thou continuest, the symbols will begin to speak. Thou shalt see warnings of danger. Thou shalt see answers to the questions thou asked in the forest. The dream is the spirit talking to the soul in the language of pictures. Nature by day, dreams by night, silence in the morning. These are the three pillars of the lifestyle of the mystic. They cost nothing. They require no priest, no temple, no donation. They require only thy time and thy sincerity. By integrating these practices, thou art building a bridge between the visible and the invisible. And soon, thou shalt find that thou walkest in both worlds simultaneously. Thy feet are on the ground, but thy head is in the heavens. But there is one final expression of this power. When the vessel is full, it must overflow. When the inspiration comes, it must be given form. It must become art. In the next chapter, I shall take thee to my kiln. I shall show thee how the spirit moves through the hands to create beauty. I shall tell thee of the 3,000 tea bowls and the ecstasy of creation. Art thou ready to become not just a receiver, but a creator? The fire is hot, and the clay is waiting. Come. Chapter 9: Creation as Prayer. We have reached a high place, thou and I. We have opened the eyes to see the invisible. We have cleansed the heart of the mud of logic. We have learned to breathe in the silence of the morning and the wisdom of the dream. But hear me well, inspiration is not a treasure to be hoarded in a dark chest. It is not a secret wine to be drunk alone in a cellar. Nay, inspiration is like the breath. If thou inhalest and holdest it, thou shalt die. Thou must exhale. The power that comes in from the heaven must go out into the earth. It must take form. It must become matter. It must become art. I have declared this truth to the world, though many laughed. Art is the mother of religion. Thou thinkest perhaps that religion is about dusty books, long sermons, and rigid laws. Thou art mistaken. That is the husk of religion, dry and dead. True religion is the act of creation. Look at the supreme God. What is He? He is the first artist. He painted the sunset with colors no painter can match. He sculpted the mountains with the chisel of the wind. He composed the symphony of the stars. Therefore, if thou wishest to be close to God, thou must become an artist thyself. Thou must imitate the Creator by creating. But Onisaburo, thou criest, I have no talent. I cannot paint, I cannot sing, I cannot write poetry. Silence that voice. That is the voice of the logic again. The voice of the beast that measures value by money or fame. I do not ask thee to be a professional. I ask thee to be a channel. Let me tell thee of the days of my twilight, after the wars were over, after the prison doors opened for the last time. My body was old, my hair was white, the world called me a retired old man. But the fire within me burned hotter than ever. I sat before the potter's wheel. I took the lump of wet clay, cold, shapeless, silent mud. And I let the Spirit descend into my hands. I did not draw a plan. I did not measure the dimensions. I did not think, I shall make a bowl that sells for 1,000 yen. I simply emptied my mind. My lips chanted the Norito, the ancient prayers of purification. My hands moved of their own accord. They danced with the clay. They punched it, caressed it, spun it. Faster and faster. I worked like a man possessed. 1 bowl, 2 bowls, 10, 100. In a short span, 3,000 tea bowls were born from my hands. They were rough. They were wild. Some were crooked. Some were splashed with colors that shocked the eye. The experts of the tea ceremony frowned. This breaks the rules. They said, this is not traditional. But when they held the bowls, their hands trembled. Why? Because the bowls were alive. They were vibrating with the energy of the spirit that flowed through me. I called them Yaoan, the shining bowls. They were not made by me, they were made through me. This is the secret I wish to give thee. Creation is the highest form of prayer. When thou art totally absorbed in making something, the ego disappears. There is no, I am doing this. There is only the doing. There is only the flow. In that state of trance, thou art one with the divine. The barrier between the human and the God dissolves. Now, I look at thee. Thou art not a potter? Fine. But thou art a creator. When thou cookest a meal for thy family, do not just throw ingredients into a pot. Empty thy mind. Feel the vegetables. Feel the heat. Put thy love into the broth. That soup becomes a medicine. That soup becomes a prayer. When thou writtest a report for thy work, do not just type words. Let the truth flow. Let the structure be beautiful. Even a business letter can be a work of art if the spirit is present. When thou plantest a flower in thy garden, when thou sweepest the floor, when thou mendest a torn shirt, do it with total attention. Do it with reverence. Make thy daily life a masterpiece. God gave thee the power of inspiration not to make thee smart, but to make thee useful. He pours the water into the vessel so that the vessel may water the dry earth. If thou blockest this flow, the water turns stagnant and poisonous. That is why so many spiritual seekers become neurotic and strange. They take in, but they do not give out. Create, sing in the shower, dance in the kitchen, write a poem on a napkin. It does not matter if it is good or bad by the world's standards. What matters is that it is real. What matters is that it came from the source. Through art, thou cleansest not only thine own soul but the souls of those who see thy work. A smile created from the heart can save a life. A word spoken with true inspiration can change a destiny. Thou art a magician, disguised as an ordinary person. Awaken to this power. Let thy hands be the hands of God today. And now, we approach the end of our journey. We have awakened the eyes. We have cleared the mind. We have connected with nature. We have expressed the power through creation. What remains? The final and greatest task of all. To take this power and heal the world. To build the kingdom of heaven not in the clouds, but here, on this scarred and suffering earth. In the final chapter, I shall show thee the ultimate purpose of the awakened soul. The vision of the future. The prophecy of the new world. Are thou ready to become a pillar of the coming age? The clay is fired. The vessel is strong. Now, let us pour the wine for all humanity. Chapter 10: The Kingdom on Earth. My beloved child, we have walked a long and winding road together. We have climbed the mountain of the Spirit, step by step. Thou hast learned to open the eyes of the soul. Thou hast learned to silence the storm of the emotions. Thou hast learned to wash away the mud of logic and the poison of arrogance. Thou hast stood in the face of death, and found peace. Thou hast turned the prison into a palace through gratitude. Thou hast attuned thy radio to the frequency of God through intuition, nature, and art. Now, thou standest upon the summit. The air is clear, the view is vast, but look down at the world below. What dost thou see? Dost thou see the smoke rising? Dost thou hear the weeping of the multitudes? The world is in pain. The world is trembling at the edge of the great pass, the Otoge. It is a time of confusion, where right is called wrong, and wrong is called right. Where brothers fight brothers, and nations hoard gold while children starve. And here, I must ask thee the most important question of all. Why did God give thee this power? Why did He grant thee the gift of inspiration? Was it so thou couldst be happy? Was it so thou couldst be lucky in business? Was it so thou couldst escape the suffering and live in a bubble of bliss? Nay, 1,000 times, nay. If thou thinkest that spirituality is for thine own comfort, thou hast learned nothing. The candle does not burn for itself. It burns to kill the darkness. The well does not drink its own water. It exists to quench the thirst of the traveler. Thou art the candle. Thou art the well. I have seen the darkness of this world. I saw it long before it happened. Decades ago, when the people of Japan were drunk on the wine of military victory, I saw the end. I saw the great cities of Tokyo and Osaka reduced to fields of burnt grass, Susukino. I saw the sky turn black with iron birds, and fire raining from the heavens. When I spoke of this, they called me a madman. They called me a traitor. They threw me in prison to silence my voice. But the vision was not a curse, it was a warning. It was a tear shed by God for His children. To have the I is a heavy burden. When thou seest the truth, thou canst no longer pretend that all is well. Thou shalt see the lies of the politicians. Thou shalt feel the hidden sorrow behind the smiles of thy neighbors. Sometimes, thou wilt wish to be blind again. Ignorance was bliss, thou mightest say. But thou canst not go back. The shell is broken. The bird has hatched. Thou must fly. And where must thou fly? Thou must fly into the storm. Thou must become a lighthouse for those who are drowning. I have a saying, a truth that is the bedrock of my teaching. Ikanen Tateba, Banin Sukureru. If one person stands, 10,000 are saved. Do not underestimate thy power. One soul, truly connected to the divine, is stronger than an army of millions who are asleep. When thou walkest into a room filled with anger, thy calmness acts as a shield that protects everyone. When thou speakest a word of truth in a council of lies, that word vibrates and shatters the deception. By simply being who thou art, a pillar of light, thou art saving the world. Do not think thou must be a great leader or a famous saint. The kingdom of God is not built by kings. It is built by the carpenter who puts love into the wood. It is built by the mother who raises her child with patience. It is built by the merchant who refuses to cheat. It is built by thee, in thy small, quiet corner of the earth. Every act of intuition, every act of art, every prayer of gratitude is a brick in the new world. And what is this new world? We call it the age of Moroku, the age of the Maitreya. It is not a dream. It is a destiny. It is a world where the barrier between the spirit and the flesh is removed. Where men do not worship money, but worship life. Where science and religion are no longer enemies, but lovers. Where every human being recognizes the God in the eyes of the other. I have seen this world. It is shimmering just beyond the horizon, like the dawn waiting for the night to break. But it cannot come without hands to pull it down. Thy hands, my friend, my student, my fellow traveler. The great pass is upon us. The old world is crumbling. Let it crumble. It was built on sand. Do not fear the chaos. The chaos is but the labor pains of the birth. Thou art the midwife of this new age. Stand tall. Do not waver. Trust the voice in thy gut. Create beauty in the face of ugliness. Forgive in the face of hatred. And know that thou art never alone. Behind thee stands a legion of ancestors, of spirits, of angels, cheering thee on. And I, Onisaburo, am always with thee. Whenever thou art in doubt, close thine eyes and call my name in the silence. I shall answer. I shall remind thee of who thou art. The training is finished. The theory is done. Now, the real work begins. The door of the deep ocean is wide open. The ship is ready. The wind is favorable. Go forth, O child of God. Go forth and heal the earth. Go forth and shine. Conclusion: the door is open. Now, the gate to the deep stands open before thee. Thou needst not fear the darkness nor the storms of life. Simply walk calmly, with a heart clear as a mirror, and the voice of heaven shall guide thy steps. Remember, thou art a child of God, and I am ever with thee in the silence. Do not hesitate. Begin this very moment. Let thy light shine upon this world, for the path of true spiritual awakening starts now. Go forth in peace. Thank you for watching. With gratitude.